Hello and welcome to Craft with Sarah. In this video I'm going to show you how to assemble my giant, larger than matte Easter sign. This design is a free SVG which you can download from my website craftwithsarah.com or follow the link in the description of this video to go straight to the download page. This sign is massive. I've cut it at 28 inches in width, but don't worry, it can all be cut on a normal Cricut mat. You don't even need the larger Cricut mats, just standard 12x12 one will work perfectly. Now before we jump into assembling the cutout design, I just want to go through a few things in Design Space and show you how it's going to work. So once you've downloaded the file from my website and opened up Design Space, you can upload the file just as you would any other SVG. I've already uploaded mine, so it's showing up in my recent uploads. If you're not sure how to unzip folders and then upload SVGs into Design Space, check out the description of this video and I'll put a tutorial link in there for you. So I'm going to insert this, and as of March 2021, I'm using Design Space 6.4.134, and there's a strange little bug in this version of Design Space, which is whenever you load a SVG into Design Space, it will resize it to 12 inches on the height. So even if you are loading in an SVG which has been purposefully sized by the designer to be a specific size, Design Space is kind of going, nah, I'm just going to make it whatever size I want. So that does cause a few issues, particularly when you're working with a design that has a specific size to cut it to, like this one. So you could absolutely cut it at 12 inches tall. It would, it'd work fine. It would just be a lot smaller than it was intended. If you want to make it at the actual size that I designed it, then in the width box at the top, just change it to 28 inches wide, and then the height should automatically change, and it's about 14.398. So you can see the background, the blue, it's got these lines across it, and if I hide all the other colours, I'll be able to show it to you a little bit easier. So I just want to show you that even though this is huge, it's a really big sign, it's not going to be difficult to cut out. Okay, so this is the very base, which is the bottom of the sign. So this is the exact size it will be. And you'll notice in the layers panel that this is actually 6 different layers. If I hide them one at a time, this is how we make this design so that it can be cut on normal Cricut mats, but when you stick it together, it gets a really big size. So don't worry if it looks complicated, I'll show you how to do it and some tips and tricks for getting everything lined up perfectly when you stick it together. We're going to start with the bottom blue section, and this comes in 6 pieces that we need to stick together to make the base for the design. So I'm going to start with the left, and this is 2 pieces, so these 2. Now you'll notice on some of the pieces of this background layer, it's got a rectangle cut out from it, and this is going to help us line all the pieces up perfectly. So when you see a rectangle that's cut out, that's designed so that you'll cover it over with the overlapping piece, and that shows you exactly where to line it up, because you can match the bit that's going over the top with the very top line of the hole, and then position it up against it so that you can't see the hole anymore. Now when you're assembling this, it's going to be easiest if you've got a solid line which you can put all the bottom pieces against. So I'm going to use one of the lines on my craft mat, but you could also use a ruler or a tape measure, or even just put a little bit of tape on your table so that you've got a straight line to make sure all of the bottom's going to line up. So I'm just going to put this bottom piece against that line and then use a little bit of washi tape to secure it in place so it's not going to move. Next, I need to stick these pieces together. So this piece is going to overlap this one. So what I'm going to do is get some double-sided tape and then go down the bottom, making sure I don't go any higher than the top of that line. So just a little bit of tape all the way along. And now I can lift up this bottom piece, slide this underneath and line it up so that the top of that hole is completely covered. And then when I'm happy with that alignment, I'm just going to push down to seal the tape. And now we can move on to the next piece. So once we've stuck all of them together, we're going to turn it upside down and add some more tape on the back to make it more secure. But for now, we just need to get everything roughly into position. So now I'm going to move on to the middle section. So just like before, I'm lining it up against this line on my craft mat, and then it will cover the hole here. So let's add some tape down this part. And then line this up so it covers that hole and it follows the same line on my craft mat, so I know that it's going to be straight. Alright, for the next bit, this is going to line up against here, and then this piece will overlap. So actually what I should have done was not taped that very top bit, because it's going to have this sliding underneath. You know what? My washi tape came undone. That is not ideal. I'm going to add a little bit more. So sticking these blue bits down is kind of the most fiddly part about the whole design. So once you've got this done, it's all a lot easier from there. So let's put some tape down here. And then first, I'm going to line this up, and tuck it under there. It probably would have been easier to do this one first. There we go. And then I can stick that down. Put some tape along here. Okay, when you're doing this, I would recommend doing this top bit first, because this is just being tricky now. Let's take it off. Okay, now let's add this one back on. So now I can line it up so that that's covered and the lines at the top are covered. Stick it down. I've not quite got the gap all the way along, but that's fine. If you do have a little bit of the gap still showing, I have specifically positioned these gaps so that they're covered up by other layers, so you're not going to see those gaps when you're finished. And let's learn from my mistakes and start with the top one this time. So I'll put the tape down. Line this up. And then I've got the bottom piece, and this time I'm going to line it up along the bottom and along this left piece. And my tape needs to go along here and down this one. Okay, there we go. That is the hardest part of the design done. And to make it a little bit more stable, I'm going to turn it upside down and add some sticky tape along the join lines, because it's going to be quite heavy by the time we've added all the other layers on, and we don't want it to fall apart when it's on the wall. Right, so that's all nicely taped up. Now we can turn it back round the right way and add the grass along the bottom. The grass works in a similar way, so it comes in 3 pieces, which you'll stick together. And this time we're going to start from left to right. And to start with, I'm not going to stick it to the blue, I'm just going to stick the green pieces together. So on this bit here, we've got a rectangle just like we did with the blue. So put a bit of tape down there. I'm going to keep it lined up against my blue, just so I can make sure the green's going to cover all of that blue. And then overlap the green to the edge of that space. And there's that one. And then the other one. So I'll overlap this piece over that gap, lining it up against the edge of the hole and the bottom of my blue. There. So just like before, I'm going to turn this over and add some tape along the join lines. Alright, so for the grass, we are going to be sticking it flat against the blue. Don't use foam pads on the grass, because if you do, none of the other layers will line up properly. So it's really important that for this you just use glue or double-sided tape. It's up to you which of those you decide to do. I think just to make it a bit easier, I'm going to use some tape. Okay, so let's carefully line this up against the left so that the bottom and the left side match up with the blue, and then just follow it down all the way to the other side and push down to get all of that tape stuck. That is our base done. We're now ready to start adding some layers. The order in which you stick the layers together from now on is quite important, so be sure to watch carefully and make sure you stick everything in the correct way. I'm going to start with the backgrounds of the two bunnies on the side. So because these are so big, they come in two separate parts for each of the bunnies. Just like we did before, we've got the little gaps, so I can add some tape. There we go. And then overlap the bunny to cover that hole and make the body shape. And he's going to go there. And then the other one, exactly the same. Tape down the bottom and then overlap this. Okay, and this one is going to go in there. I'm ready to stick these layers on, and now I'm going to start with the foam pads. So I've turned this bunny upside down and I am going to get my foam pads. Now my foam is quite big, so I've cut it smaller with some scissors because this project does use an awful lot of your foam. So by cutting the pieces a bit smaller, it just means your supplies will go a bit further, which is always a positive in my opinion. When you're adding the foam, make sure you have a good amount on there because we need to make sure it's going to stay stuck with all the other layers on top. And the reason I'm putting foam pads in the middle of the design, not just on the edges, is because I don't want it to sag under the weight of the other layers. So if there was no foam in the middle of these big sections, it means when I add the other layers on top, the weight of that paper might cause this piece to dip and sag, and then I'll lose that 3D effect. I'm peeling the backs off of these foam pads to release the sticky underneath, and then this will be ready to attach to the sign. Okay, so let's turn it the right way round, and then you want to stick this lining up the ears first. And how it will work is your ears will go in the middle of this blue section on the left. So you've got a nice even blue border around that left ear, and that will help you align the rest of it. So the rest of it should just drop into position, and then you can push it down to stick those foam pads. I'm going to do the same thing for this bunny, so turn it upside down and add the foam. Here we go. And this time I'm going to use this right ear as my guide. So just like with the first bunny, I'm going to position this so I've got an even amount of blue around all of the ear and also the face here, and then let the rest of it drop into position and push down to seal those foam pads. Next, I'm going to get all of the other big pieces into position, but I'm not going to stick them yet. I'm going to make sure they're all going to fit first. So I'm going to start with the bottom big egg, which goes next to this white bunny. And you can see you've got a cut in the body, which is where we're going to align the egg. So it's just going to match up with that position. For the orange egg, I'm going to put that so it overlaps the hand a little bit of that bunny. And then you see you've got the cuts in the orange, and that is where we'll line up the chick. So just like a jigsaw puzzle, push those in so that they touch. And then we've got the bottom layer of the chocolate bunny, and this needs to slot in underneath the chick and underneath the other egg. So have a play about with the positioning until you're happy where everything is, because once you've stuck these down, that's it, you can't change it again. So we're just making sure we're happy with where all this is going. The first layer we're going to stick down is the bottom of this bunny, and for this one we're going to glue it, or double-sided tape. We're not going to foam. So to make sure it goes in the right place, get some washi tape or masking tape, just something that isn't going to rip your cardstock. You could even just put something heavy on top of your card if you don't have any tape. But I'm just going to roughly position everything else where it's going to go, so that when I stick the bunny down, I'm going to know it's in the right place. So now I can slide out the bunny, and this time I'm going to use glue so that I've got a little bit of wiggle room if I want to move it about. So with the tape it's kind of, you know, as soon as you put it down it's stuck there forever, but with glue I'll be able to wiggle it about a bit if I'm not quite happy with the positioning. I'm using tacky glue. It's got a nice thin nozzle on it, which makes it easier to use. And now I'm going to slide my bunny in, being careful not to get any glue on the tops of the yellow layers, although it doesn't matter too much because they will be covered up. So I'm just getting him into position. You see I've actually put a bit of glue over there, but it doesn't really matter because I'm going to have an egg covering that. But I'm happy with where that bunny is, so I'll just push down that glue. Next I'm going to stick the orange egg, so let's remove this washi tape, move it along a bit. And this is going to have the foam pads on, so I'll turn it upside down and add some foam. Now one thing you need to be aware of is this is going to slide over the hand of the bunny, so you don't want to put any foam in this section of the egg, otherwise it's not going to be able to slide over that hand. So avoid this section and just put the foam at the top and the bottom. Okay, so I'm going to line this up again. I've still got that chick in position, so I know where it needs to go, and then it's over that arm of the bunny. I can just push down to stick all of that foam. Next I'm going to add the foam of the top layer of the chocolate bunny, which is here, and again this is going to slide underneath these two yellow layers. So I can put foam on the back of the bunny all over, and then pick it up and slide it under here so it will line up perfectly with the other bunny layer, and also make sure that it goes underneath the other egg, and then let's push down to seal. Next I'm going to foam this layer which goes on the orange egg here, and this one we are going to add one layer of foam along here where the orange is, and then underneath here we're going to need two pieces of foam to get the height the same. So don't worry about the chick at the moment. I'm going to take the washi tape off of that for now because I'll need to move it in a minute. We're going to stick the chick on afterwards. So let's have a little look at what I'm going to need. So if you think about it halfway through, so if I flip this over, my half here where I've got my fingers, that's going to need the double layer of foam. And to make a double layer, just put a piece of foam on and take off the top, and then add another piece directly on top. So we're doubling the height of the foam in that place. Let's do another one here. And one more double one at the bottom. And then down this side, we just need a single layer. Just have a think about what the top needs. The top just needs one. There, and you see, because we added that double layer, this is all perfectly lined up. You might want to add some foam under the stripes as well, because you can see it is sagging a bit under the weight. So actually I think I will just poke some under there now. I thought I was going to be able to get away with it, but obviously not. So just a little bit of foam and it will stop it sagging. So now we're going to add on the chick, which is going to line up with the egg, and it's going to go over the bunny. So this one is a little bit tricky because we've got all of these different layers and levels that we need to get the chick to match. So I find the easiest way to do it is actually to put the foam on the other layers to start with. So I'm going to keep a little note of where the edge of the chick goes on the bunny, and add some single layers of foam pads along here. For the top of the chick, here where there's nothing underneath, oops, didn't mean to stick that yet, I'm going to need the double layer of foam pads because it's got to match up with this one. So let's add a couple of double layers in here. And I think one in the middle. Okay, and then where it's going to overlap the red egg, we just need to add some glue. Ooh, throw my glue away. So we know where the glue needs to go because we've got the orange cut out underneath the red. So let's just add some glue on there. And now I can stick the chick on. So I'm lining it up against the gaps in the orange. Try and make it so that you can't see any of that gap. So if you have to overlap it a little bit, that's okay. Now I can stick everything down. And because we've been clever with the glue, the single layer of foam and the double layer of foam, it's perfectly flat on top. And that is looking pretty cool. Alright, so next, the last layer along this bottom is just to stick this egg down, and we just need a single layer of foam pads for this one. But make sure you don't put any foam in this section down here because that's going to need to overlap the chocolate bunny. And then line this up so that it goes along this gap in the bunny. Again, you might want to overlap it a little bit just to make sure you can't see that gap. And although the design has this completely straight, I've put it at a bit of an angle just to make there a little bit of a bigger gap between the bunny. Next up, I'm going to finish the chick and the chocolate bunny. The chocolate bunny just has one more layer, and it's this bow to go along the neck. And I'm going to add foam on this one, so I've turned it upside down, and just a couple of little pieces to stick this on. I'm going to line it up against the edges, and there we go, chocolate bunny done. Now it's time for the chick, and this has a few extra pieces. I've got the 2 pieces of shell, some eyes, and of course a beak. Now if you wanted to, you could use googly eyes instead of the black ones that cut out. That is entirely up to you. I think I've actually managed to stick my chick on upside down, so I need to turn my eggs the other way around to get it to line up. I've got dust everywhere because I stupidly put all my layers on a dusty surface. Alright, so let's foam the egg pieces. And for this one, you don't need to worry about overlapping anything or doubling up the foam. It's just a standard 1 layer of foam. There we are, and then the bottom one. Okay, and then for the face, you can either use foam or glue. I think I use some foam for the beak. I might glue the eyes because they're quite small pieces. Next, I'm going to move on to starting the top eggs along here. So here are my eggs. I've just put them in the right order now. So it starts with the spotty one, then it's stripy, stars, spots, and the diagonal lines. We're going to stick this in a little bit of a strange order, but it's so that we get all the overlaps right between the eggs where they overlap each other. And the first one I'm going to do is this top left one. So I'm going to take the bottom layer, the green one, and add some foam. Make sure you don't add the foam where the ear is on the bunny because we need to slide it over the top. So let's line this up, and just like with the bunny ears, we're making sure we've got a nice gap of blue around the top. So let's line that one up, and then I'm just going to put that to one side for now. We'll do that in a minute. But next we're going to do egg number 5. So take the bottom layer, which is the pink one, and this is going to go here, and we don't want to put any foam where the bunny ear is because again it's going to overlap. Alright, so I'm going to position this one with that nice blue border and slide it over the bunny ear. Now with these top eggs, I'm going to glue the top layers to them rather than use foam, and that's going to make it a lot easier to line them all up so that they're overlapping. So let's turn this over and add a bit of glue, and then I'll stick this on top, and the same for the one on the right. Actually, whilst I've got my glue out, I might just glue all the other ones together. Although I've got this orange piece that I've already put the foam on. So I'm going to slide that under the chick, under the top layer, but above the egg there. And stick that down. And then put the other layer on top. And these two, I'll just glue them a minute because I've got the glue out. Alright, so now let's stick these two down, and I'm going to do the third one first. And this is going to go like this. So it's going to overlap the top of the bunny ears and the side of that orange one. So we only really want to put foam down this curve. I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the top of the bunny ears, just so this has got something else to hold on to. There we go. And now one egg left, and this one I'm going to overlap both of these other eggs. So I'm going to put my foam down the middle. Okay, so there. Next I'm going to finish off the two bunnies. The next piece to go on is the head, and that's going to sit on here. Now because the egg and the ear are the same level, you don't need to worry about not putting foam here because it's all just going to make that second level. So let's add some foam to the back and stick it on. And then we've got the bits in the ears, and again that will be foam. And then I've got the nose piece here. If you're not sure where exactly these pieces need to go, then refer back to the design in Design Space and just look at where it shows up on there to give you a better idea of where everything is going to go. And next I have the nose, and then somewhere are the eyes. I think it is actually these two. So again, you could use googly eyes if you want to, and I'm going to glue mine on rather than use foam. But again, that's up to you. Left bunny done, let's move on to the right one. This one works a bit different because we've got the pink layer which will go underneath the white one. So we need to add the pink one first, and that's going to overlap that egg. Running out of space. I hope you can still see what I'm doing. I know it's getting a bit layer upon layer upon layer, but I don't have any other table space. This is too big. So this one will line up with the head that's already there. And next I'm going to add the white one on top with some more foam. This white one will sit directly on top of the pink one. And next I'm going to do the face. So I've got this piece as the nose. Put that sort of near the bottom. And then the pink nose on top. Just one piece of foam is fine. And finally the eyes, which I use glue for. Okay, so this bunny is nearly done now. All he needs is his egg. I'm actually going to do the purple on this egg first because I want the red egg to overlap it. So let's add some foam to here. This just sits flat on top of the other egg. And now when I put this on, I just need to be careful not to add any foam down that very left part where it's going to overlap the purple. Okay, so stick that so it lines up against the white. And there we go, bunny number 2 is finished. So now this is all of our layers done for all of the eggs and the characters. So if you wanted, you could leave it like this and it looks great as it is, but the design does come with the Happy Easter letters. So I'll show you how to add those onto the top if you want to add them. So what I've done here is I've positioned all of the letters where they're going to go. And each letter has 2 parts. It's got a shadow layer underneath, which I've cut from blue, and then the thinner letter on top. And I've done mine from mirror card, so apologies if you're getting a lot of light shining on it. So the reason I position everything out first is to make sure that you've got everything the right way up, because some of these blue layers, it's a little bit hard to tell if you've got it the right way around. And also I can just double check that I've spelt everything right and got the letters in the right order before I stick them down. So you've got one of your letters on each of the eggs at the top, and then one of the word Easter on each of the pictures at the bottom. So we can stick these together, and you can either do 2 layers of foam, so foam underneath the blue and the top letter, or you could stick the top letters to the blue with glue instead if you didn't want it to be so dimensional. I think I want mine to pop out quite a lot, so I'm going to do the 2 layers of foam. So let's start with this H over here. And these letters are a little bit thin, so you may need to cut your foam smaller to get it to fit in the gaps. You don't want any foam to overlap the edges, otherwise you'll see it when you turn it over and stick it on and it will look a bit messy. So let's put that one on there. And now a bit more foam to stick it to the egg underneath. Just position it where you want it to go. I like to follow the angle of the egg and then push it down. And then I do the same for all of those. And then I can move on to the bottom ones. So I thought I'd just show you one of these bottom ones where they're going over something that has multiple layers on it. So you just need to be a bit careful when you stick it that it's all going to line up. So if I just show you with this bottom one, I can put a bit of foam pad on the top and the bottoms, but if I wanted to add some stability here, I'd need to do 2 layers of foam because the orange is 1 layer down from the red. Alright, so I'm going to pause the video and go ahead and stick the rest of my letters down, and then I will show you the finished design. So now all of my letters are stuck down and my sign is completely finished. I am so happy with how this has turned out. It is definitely a monster. It is huge and it's going to look amazing stuck up on my wall for Easter. So to attach this to the wall, all I'm going to do is turn it upside down and add a load of blue tack on the back. You'll probably need quite a lot because it is big and it is heavy with all these layers on it. But it can just be stuck to the wall, and then you can take it down and put it away somewhere safe for next year. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this video and following along with all the steps. To get the free SVG for this Happy Easter sign, check out craftwithsarah.com, or I've got an exact link in the description of this video. If you like this project and you'd like to see more like it, please give the video a thumbs up, leave me a comment and subscribe to my YouTube channel to make sure you never miss any of my free designs. Thank you for watching. Bye.